So let's talk about the basics of learning to aim in this game, because there are a lot of people who are going to be a little bit less familiar. Um, Obviously, a lot of the people who watch me are returning from Splatoon 2, but a lot of new players as well. So let's talk about motion aim. Like I've put out, in a TikTok before this and everything, motion aim is superior. It is just straight up better if you are able to use it. There are two reasons not to use it. One is that you get motion sickness or like have a physical disability, so you can't. Like some people get tremors, some people they get nauseous when you do this too much. So those are all valid reasons not to. And it's also valid if you just don't care that much about getting better at the game. Like if you want to play this as a casual game and you have more fun with sticks, more power to you. That is totally okay. I do not judge people for that. But you need to be honest with yourself. Like you need to acknowledge that you're playing a scheme that is worse for winning games. Because being able to move around this quickly compared to this slowly is just a massive advantage. On top of that, you can add the left-right of the right stick while you're using motions to snap extremely quickly. That was a 360. So how do you get started? The most important thing that is difficult about this early on is just keeping your reticle pointing forward at eye level at all times. You want to have... I usually play with... Let me see if I can get this arranged somewhere. Okay, I can't really. I'm going to kind of try and simulate this a little bit. So while I'm sitting, I have my hands on my legs like this, so that the only thing that's moving is I'm pushing my forearms forward and back. So like right arm forward, left arm back to turn. That's how I'm turning left-right. Or I'm doing this with my wrists to go up-down. Those are the motions that I use in order to aim in this game. So that's kind of how I'm doing it. And it's mostly in the wrist. It's mostly just you're using your wrist rather than your arms, because your arms are bigger and there's more inertia in them. So using your wrists is going to be faster and generally more accurate. So that's the physical position that I'm in. Always be making sure that your reticle is at eye level. If your reticle aims too high up, a couple of things happen. Number one, you're obviously not going to hit anybody because you're going to shoot over their heads. But number two, you actually have less range if you aim up than if you aim forward. So here's the range aiming forward. Now watch what happens if I aim up. It doesn't go nearly as far, even though I'm standing in the same place. And you have the same issue if you aim down. If you aim down, you hit the floor before the bullets have time to go anywhere, and so it doesn't go as far. So for all of these reasons, and also for being able to hit an enemy player, your default position that you always want to be maintaining is dead ahead. There's actually another reason that you want to be aiming dead ahead, and that is that you collect more information that way. Let's count how many target dummies I can see right now. I can see, besides the moving one on my left, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 dummies. If I aim down, now I can only see 6. If I aim up, that, up high enough, that denies me like 6 of them, or 5 of them. You have a much better view of what is going on in front of you. You're just collecting more information if you keep your reticle aimed at eye level at all times. So, for very, very many reasons, your first priority is just get your reticle in the right spot. Before you even, try to learn how to snap to things, do this sort of thing, just get your reticle in the right place. Get that foundation built for yourself. So that even as you're moving around, you'll notice that, while I'm moving there, I'm actually tilting the control stick a little bit. I'm not trying to use motion for just looking around slowly. It's smoother if you use the right stick for that. So that's one of the big things that I'll use the right stick for, is just, keeping an eye on what I need to keep an eye on as I move. But once you start aiming, that immediately needs to switch to motion, because that'll be faster and more precise. Once you start trying to learn to aim, here are the drills that I do to help me improve at that as time goes on. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to find a moving target, and I'm just going to spend some time keeping the reticle on it. The reason I do this is not because this is a useful thing to do in combat, because in fact, what you really want to be doing is erring on the side of aiming in front of someone. If you aim in front of someone while they're swimming, with most weapons, you're going to paint their feet and prevent them from moving. And then they're a sitting duck, and then it's much easier to hit your shots. So if anything, aim in front of the direction that they're moving, because that will slow them down. But what I'm doing this for is just to get control of the reticle. Just to get used to how it moves when I move my hands, when I move my wrists. I want to just keep the circle on the target this entire time that it's doing this. And then if you want more of a challenge, if you need to pick it up, you can get closer to it, so you have to move through a more extreme angle and look at the faster moving ones. See, there I got off for a second. So this one's a little bit harder, and this is going to be good practice for me to keep my hands steady. So there, that was pretty good. Little blip in the middle there, but that was pretty good. So that's how I would start. I would do that for, a minute or two. Like, take your time and, do that so that you're really being consistent about it, because the better you can control this little circle on the screen, the better you're going to be able to get your aim on quickly. The next thing that I do after that, once I've got a little bit more control, is I work on going from target to target. So I'll start here, and I'll move to here. Now that one was bad, and let me explain why. One, I'm trying to go in a straight line. I don't want to curve. I don't want to do something like this. I don't want to do something like this. I especially don't want to do something like this. So I don't want to curve. I want to go in a straight line. And that was okay with what I did. But what wasn't okay was that I overshot. You want to go from here to here and then stop. Just stop. Not go past it. Not go past it, and what especially happens if you go past it, that people tend to do, is then they overcorrect and go past it again. And, that is a much slower kill time than that. You need to avoid sprinkler aiming like this, because you're just firing a lot of shots, depleting your ink tank, and barely ever going to hit anything. So that is something that you need to kind of work to get rid of as time goes on. And that will be kind of your first impulse, especially on shooter weapons, because they have such a higher fire rate and they let you get away with this sometimes. You want just the immediate shot, shot, shot down. Shot, shot, shot down. That's what we're working to be able to get to. So we want to go straight to the target and not overshoot. So I overshot a little bit there. And if you ever get it wrong, the way to solve that is to go slower next time. So now I'm going to go this slow. And that time I didn't mess it up. And it is only once you can get it very consistently at a slower speed that you should start picking it up. It is, again, very much like learning music. You play it slowly so that you can do it perfectly slowly. And only then do you start speeding it up and trying to get it perfectly sped up. And never, ever, ever do things from exactly the same place every time, because then you will just learn this by muscle memory. You will learn the distance between specifically this target and specifically this target, instead of learning how to just blindly see where someone is and snap to them. Like that. I didn't know that this target was going to be there because I had my eyes closed and moved myself around and shifted my camera around. But then I opened my eyes and I adjusted and hit this right away. That's what you need to be able to get to the point of doing. Doing that on a target that's further away is going to be more tricky. So that one right there, I was a little bit more unsteady, but I did manage to get it. So that's the next step in the drills, is just getting to the point where you can aim at them, you're moving back and forth between them in a straight line, and not overcorrecting or curving your shots. The next step after that is to actually start shooting, because shooting adds another dimension to this. On top of wanting to go in a straight line and not overshooting, you also don't want to fire warning shots. If I go from here to here and I'm firing shots the entire way, those shots as they whiz by my opponent, are warning them that somebody is shooting at them. Strong players start reacting to those just subconsciously, like, oh, I'm being shot at, I've got to move. And they will start to get out of the way and make it much more difficult. But if the very first shots you're hitting are landing, they might just not respond in time. Or if they do, they will take at least a couple shots before they are even able to move, just because those shots come out so quickly. So, on top of going in a straight line and not overcorrecting, you also want to go in a straight line, not overcorrect, and only start firing once your aim is on. As long as you can do those 3 things, don't curve your shots, don't overcorrect, only start firing once your aim is on, you start speeding that up and you're going to start aiming like a competitive player. So those are the drills that I do. Once I've got that, where I want it for the end of that day, because this is going to be a long-term project. It's not like this is going to be perfect after day 1. It's not like this is going to be perfect after week 1 or month 1. But the more you do this, the better you will get at it. And the next step after the stationary targets is to take all of those same drills and start doing them with the moving targets. The thing you have to watch out for with the moving targets is that you do have to lead your shots. There are no weapons in Splatoon 3 or any Splatoon game that are hit scan. Even the charger, which is very, very, very fast at splatting, is a projectile that will take some travel time, especially at long range. And you'll see it especially with something like the blaster, even though it was on. See, my reticle is never showing me the X, even though I hit a direct there, because this target is moving. So the X is great for spotting a weapon's range, how close you have to be to hit them. It's also great for just having a way of knowing, yes, you are aiming where you want to be aiming for those earlier drills. But against moving targets, and any target in Splatoon should be moving, or they're kind of throwing. They don't know where you are, or they're just not that used to the game yet. Any target you're aiming at should be trying to move as much as it possibly can. You're going to need to lead your shots, and so if anything, err on the side of leading them too much, but definitely don't trust that X on your aim when you are looking for where you need to aim for, because it may be pretty far away, especially depending on the weapon. It's not going to be as bad for a shooter. Like, I was on the front half of it with the circle, and I was actually hitting shots there. Let's aim at the higher one, and then I won't get interfered with by the one that's in front. But you can see, even there, the shots are trailing just a little bit behind it. So I need to be on the front edge of it in order to be hitting it with those.